All right, guys, in this edition of the Fit Rockstar Show, we have somebody very special. He is the GOAT of bodybuilding, in my opinion. He is the voice of the Olympia, the voice of bodybuilding, Mr. USA. He is Bob Cicherillo.
Hey, what's up? Hey, got a studio audience there. Excellent.
Yeah. How are you?
You know, I'm doing good. Countdown to the Olympia. We got a few shows in between. We got the Nationals. We got Lee Haney's show. I'll be there with the greatest bodybuilder of all time in Atlanta. I believe you'll be there as well coming up. So Lee Haney Games is upon us once again in the middle of a storm. You know, we can't get around the last few shows. We got another hurricane coming our way. So
Yeah.
hopefully I'll be able to get on a plane tomorrow.
I think you'll be fine. If not, you don't live too far away.
No, if all else fails, I'm in the truck, and I told Lee yesterday, I said, look, I'll be there come hell or high water. So,
Yeah. What's the hat on your head there? That your Kratom? It's actually an Olympia sponsor.
That is a company called Your Kratom, which I'm going to be soon joining in some kind of an official capacity. Yeah, they'll be at the Olympia, actually. They'll be at coming to a show near you very soon, compliments of myself. But I had to kind of learn about it. It's a new product. It's actually a plant-based product, very much in the same arena as CBD. So it's.
Wait a minute, Bob. Are you doing the ganja stuff here?
No, ganja. You know me. I've never smoked pot in my life, or a cigarette, or even been drunk for that matter. But you know, it's interesting because it's plant-based, so it's a natural extract. And it's very much in the line of CBD. It's like CBD plus. So it cures what ails you. You've got, bad joints. My knees are falling apart. Right. I got all kinds of, stuff going on as I get old. But it's got other properties too. There's stuff to relax you. It's kind of good before you go to bed. Like I say, very much CBD oriented, but not the next step. But some good opportunities have come my way, and so I'm kind of representing here with the Your Kratom hat. I'll soon have the whole array of shirts and things and stuff. So yourkratom.com.
Yeah, I actually used the 45, which I did like. That was pretty good stuff. Makes you feel good. I mean, I didn't, the pain went away because I have, some back pain from time to time. But
sure.
So you are, let's see, you've been bodybuilding since you're 13. And this is going to be your 17th Mr. Olympia?
Yeah, I think your math is probably better than mine. But yeah, I think this year is 17 years at the microphone. So it's kind of interesting because I got the best seat in the house, as always. So it's, as being a historian and a bodybuilding fan, as well as a former pro, you can't beat this. I mean, I'm on stage with these guys. I'm 10 feet away from them. I get to hear all the conversations going on as they turn to the back, stuff like that. So it's kind of cool.
And you've done you're actually, you've done, I guess you're qualified for 2 Olympias. You did 1. And then the second year, you actually decided after winning the Worlds that you didn't want to do it anymore. Now, how many, like you would think, okay, you're going to go on the Olympia stage. You're actually doing it from an MC standpoint. So tell us how you got into the voice of the Olympia. How did you become that?
Well, I begged and pleaded for years because the guys that were there ahead of me were horrible.
In what sense?
You're talking about the early 2000s, basically 2000 to 2003 or so was disasters at the Olympia. For anybody that was there, they know exactly what I'm talking about. It was just a comedy of errors, and it was kind of embarrassing at one point where they didn't have people up there that knew the sport. Which, and not to take away from them because, some of these people I actually knew personally, but, and they were trying to do the celebrity thing, which again, doesn't really go in our sport. Listen, it's nice to have a celebrity there that can come out and wish everybody well, or, have like a little segment. But when you got to be up there for 5-6 hours, you need somebody who knows the sport, who knows what to do, who can, engage with the crowd, that knows the athletes, that has familiarity. And so I kind of, I was already hosting other shows, but to that point, I was basically like, hey, put me in, coach. Like I can do this better than the guys you got. Give me a chance. And I got that chance courtesy of, Joe Weider and Robin Chang at the time and Jim Mannion. And they finally gave me my shot, and I've been there ever since. So I'm guessing that they like what I do.
So that with the press conference? Is that when you first had your shot?
Yeah, they didn't just throw me on the main stage. Like, I had to kind of earn my keep, so to say. So, yeah, the first year I actually got to do the press conference with my good buddy Triple H. You may have heard of him. And we had a great time. I mean, we just lit it up and had some fun and almost got into it. Lucky for him, cooler heads prevailed. Because don't let the prettiness fool you. Okay, you do not want to make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. So, but yeah, we had a great time. Then it kind of just went on from there. The next year, I was able to do, the press conference plus, and then I finally got me and Sean Ray did it for a couple of years together, and then I got my shot on my own. They just thought I'd be better without a partner. So you don't really need two MCs. I always thought that was a little weird, but not to take away from Sean, because I love Sean. We go way back. Still should have beat him at the Teen Nationals back in '85, but that's another story.
But are you the guy who actually started the whole hype with the press conference, making it more entertaining and exciting?
Yes, I am actually. I had some different ideas. You know me well. I'm very WWE oriented. Entertainment is first on my list. And in this sport, we could use some entertainment value. Always have, and to this day, we could use more. So I took the press conference from what it was with the president of the federation at the time, that it was just a boring bitch fest every year, to being entertaining. It's like, look, let's hear from the athletes. Let's talk about the show. Let's hype this thing. And so I kind of took it in a different direction. And me and Dan Solomon did it for some years, as we were prevalent at the time with PBW, Pro Bodybuilding Weekly, which was the first of its kind. Now everybody's got a podcast and all that stuff. But again, we're going back to the early 2000s here, and we were innovators. And Dan, kind of brought me into his fold of doing this new thing called Pro Bodybuilding Weekly, and we took it to the Olympia. So we kind of did it as our own brand for a couple of years, and then once again they kind of threw me on my own. And I've had other hosts since. I've had Sean, I've had Dennis James, I've had various other people join in. But it's always a fun part and a good way to start the weekend with a bang.
Do you think the press conference is actually a good way of call? I mean, do you like calling it a press conference? Is it really a press conference?
Well, it's funny you should bring that up, because years ago that was kind of debated because it wasn't really a press conference, right?
Exactly.
And then we opened it up for the press. And one of the years with Peter McGuff, God bless him, I miss Peter dearly. He says, let's actually have the press ask questions. And I opened it up to the press, and nobody had a question. And ever since then, I was like, all right, listen, I'm done with this. Boring, not going anywhere.
Right.
I mean, listen, I would have believe it or not, even though I've been doing it for years, I'm not so sure I would even have a press conference at the Olympia. I think it's too late. I think having press conferences throughout the year would be smarter. Mm-hmm. I mean, if it was up to me, I wouldn't have a press conference at the show. I would actually emphasize the Sunday seminar after the show, because it's the only thing that we do that's after the results.
Yeah. Are you going to bring?
That's got way more value to it.
Are you going to bring back the Puniverse?
Oh, listen, that was the golden gem at the Olympia.
Can you explain what the Puniverse is for those who don't know? So
for years I had this idea that I would routinely give to Robin Chang every year. Bro, we got to do the Puniverse. He's like, what is it? I go, it's the complete opposite. It's Bizarro World, right? We get the skinniest, puniest weakling that we can find, and we put these guys on stage, and they fight for the title of the Mr. Puniverse, right? And he just thought it was hilarious, but he wouldn't let me do it. So one year he comes up and he says, hey, listen, I need, we got like 30 minutes to kill on stage of dead time. Can you come up with anything? I'm like, bro, this is it. The Puniverse. And he's like, all right, listen, go ahead, do it, right? You outline it, you put it together. Let's. So I did. So we had volunteers come from the audience, right? Right on the spot. Look, guys, this is the Mr. Puniverse, blah, blah, blah. I want the skinniest geeks I can finally get on. And these guys, we'd have like 15 of them would come up there.
Wow.
And we'd have companies donate some stuff, like Weight Gainer, of course, right, for the Puni. And we had a little trophy made up, like the Neil Zanderson guy. He actually came up with this little Puniverse trophy. He's like this little wire guy, pathetic, right? And I would have him come up, and I would kind of do it in rounds, and it was my audience vote. And I would go behind these guys, and of course these guys were $120, maybe, soaking wet, right? And it was absolutely, the fans loved it. It was hilarious. And we would kind of whittle it down, and then I'd have a big pose down and stuff. And thus the Puniverse was born.
Was
So
this at the expo or on the actual Olympia stage?
no, I mean, listen, we can't desecrate the
Right.
holy ground of Joe Weider State. No, this is at the expo. It's a great
This is
expo
great.
event, right? And then we haven't done it in the last couple of years, but I would love to bring it back because this was a fan favorite.
I think you should bring it back. We need more entertainment. So going back to what you said originally, what would you do now in the current times? Obviously, Jake Wood and Dan Solomon have done a wonderful job with everything, making everything big and boom, every year it's great. So what more can we do to bring entertainment to the Olympia?
Well, in my opinion, a lot of the stuff has to start during the year. We don't have a channel. Like, we're not on mainstream TV. This isn't like football right now, right? Right in the middle of football.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on trifecta.
You're watching the game every week until we get to the playoffs, until we get to the division, finals, right? Then you get to the Super Bowl. That's what we need to do with bodybuilding. This stuff needs to be planned out throughout the year to increase interest, to increase the fan base, to increase the amount of entertainment value that we can bring. We have to build fan base.
You know what
We're
I'd
not a
love?
mainstream sport.
You know what I'd love to see, Bob? I was hoping actually after the Indy Pro, the contract signing, right? Say like a Blessing, a Woody Boo, you know how crazy that would be? He just gets all...
Listen, I've been bringing up these ideas, for any of you historians, you can go back 15, almost 20 years, the articles I've written in Flex Magazine, Muscular Development, Perillo Performance, the NPC News, and it's all there to see. I've been literally been shouting from the rooftops for years that these are the type of things we can do. I would turn bodybuilding shows a little bit different to me. The nighttime show would be more of a show.
Right.
We've already got the results. We've already got the prejudging. That's the actual competition, right? The show would be a show. I'd have all kinds of entertainment coming out. People on the mic, kind of like when you watch wrestling, right? First 20 minutes of wrestling, there's not a match. They're talking on a microphone, talking about this, talking about that, talking about this guy. What happened last week? That I would be going more that kind of road of nighttime shows that would include other things other than just the actual competition itself.
Now, you've been through a lot of people with the Olympian, I mean like owners and all that stuff. So you've seen a lot of different things. Have they ever had it where they had like what do you call it, the boom mic or something, or they have the microphone and giving it to the audience and say like you may ask a question to like a Mr. Samir Banut who's down in the audience. Have they done things like that in the past?
Well, again, we've had various things over the years. We've had, again, different owners, different people in place. A lot of the things we're still not doing. And again, I would like to see us expand more. These aren't high ticket costs, by the way. These are things that don't cost a lot of money, but they would bring great entertainment and value. For years, I wanted a Legends booth at the Olympia.
I thought we had that already.
Well, in a small manner, but I want to bring this. This should be one of the key components of the expo, right? Mm-hmm. Not a small little thing over in the corner. I want a big booth like in the old days, like when you used to go to the Arnold, and there was a big Europa booth. There was all kinds of people in there, like Ed Corney and Lou Ferrigno and all these people, right? These guys ain't going to be around forever. Anybody left, of the old days is in their 70s at this point. Mm-hmm. So I would highly suggest, this is kind of stuff that we'd call upon. I want to go in that Olympia, and I want to see a booth with 20 legends in there that you can go and meet them and greet them and get their autograph and take pictures with them and whatever. These are a type of entertainment-based things that I think would lend a lot more to the fan experience, the Olympia experience. And so that would be my vision of ideas that I would be bringing forward, to make this a better and a bigger experience for everybody.
So these last 2 years have been something really interesting, right? I mean, COVID times, Jake and Dan pulled it off with having the Olympia in Orlando, my hometown. How, for you as an MC, is your job easy?
Well, I try to make it look easy, but it's a lot harder than what you would think because there's 10 different things going on at the same time. And again, if you're good, and I like to, think that I'm the best of what I do, you have no idea that there's 10 things going on. And that's the craft, right? Making it look easy, making it look seamless, making it like to this day, I still have people that think there's a teleprompter involved. And I can assure you, and you can assure everybody, there ain't no teleprompter.
Right.
Okay. Nothing is scripted. There is no teleprompter. I'm reading off like the news, that type of thing. I am literally on my own. Everything that you hear coming out of my mouth is coming out of my mouth at that point, right? You have to be cognizant of the athletes, the judges, the expediters, the sponsors, the photographers, right? All this has to be kind of, manipulated or worked on at the same time. So just consider like you've got different things that you're working with that all have to kind of work in concert with each other.
What is
Now,
Okay,
nobody does this. Well, let me just say this because I don't want it to go unsaid. I'm as good as the production crew behind me. I can only work so much magic on my own. Okay. If the expediter backstage, who to me is one of the most valuable people there, that's complete unsung hero. If they don't have that athlete up there and ready, when I do the big intro, nobody walks out, it falls flat. Right. Or if the results are wrong, obviously we've seen that a few times, right? It happens. Not a lot, obviously, but it happens, right? These are the type of things that, again, I don't care how good your MC is, whether it's me or anybody else, you have to have a good crew. We've got a great one at the Olympia. I've had very good crews over the years, but yes, things go wrong and you have to be able to fix them on the spot or make it entertaining or, the show must go on, right? But it's got to be done in a professional manner.
This, would you say in your years of competing and, being in the sport, would you say this is the most historic and epic Olympia?
Oh, listen, this Olympia can, I mean, every year we say, greatest Olympia, and this could be one of the, this year, literally, without all the fanfare, could be one of the best Olympias in history. Because what you've got is you've got some old guard, you've got some guys that have been there, and then you've got a whole bunch of new guys coming out.
And women. Let's not forget the women.
Well, and the women. I mean, I talk generally about the men.
I know.
Yes, it's in all divisions, of course. And that's expanded greatly. I mean, 10 years ago, there wasn't 10 divisions. Now there is. So, yes, the women, the men, the wheelchair, the fitness and figure and everything else.
Well, let's talk about the numbers, though. How about that? Of all those, I mean, as a judge, that's going to be difficult. That's a lot of people crossing that stage.
Well, all right, this is a tough one for me because for years I've been advocating to increase the amount of athletes that qualify for the Olympia. I think it's good for business, okay? By the same token, you can't have 400 people going across the Olympia stage, right? It's not possible. So how do we juggle and balance both? All right, you can't stifle the growth of the Pro League or the Olympia, okay? So even though we want the best of the best, well, listen, every sport wants the best of the best. Let's take the Olympics, for example. We want the best of the best, right? There's only 3 medals on that stand, right? Bronze, silver, and gold. There's only 8 lanes on that track for people to race, whether it's Usain Bolt or to find out who the fastest man in the world is or anything else. So how do we balance this? Listen, we've grown exponentially in the NPC and especially the NPC worldwide, okay? That said, we qualify more people today than we ever have. Right now, you're going to have 70, and I'm just using these 2 divisions as an example. You're going to have 70 men's physique competitors going across the Olympia stage. 70. Okay? You're going to have almost 65, I think, bikini pros going across the stage. Now, that is an unusually large. These are the largest.
Now, let me say this. Let me ask you this, though. Is that with the people on points, or is that people who have already qualified?
I'm not even counting the points, right? So it could be a little bit over, but let's just generally say it's 70 in each, right? That's a ridiculous amount of people. I mean, clearly you can still get the best. Listen, the Olympics has hundreds of people that go to the Olympics. What we need, and I've been advocating this for years, is a series of cut rounds. Just like you're going to go to the Wimbledon. Not everybody goes to the finals. You got to get to the semifinals, right? You got to get to the quarterfinals. You got to get right to the, listen, basketball. Same thing, Sweet 16, right? Then it goes down to 8. Then you get to the Final Four, right? Then you get to the championship game. The same thing should be applied to bodybuilding. And I think this is a way to increase the growth of the sport / the Olympia. At the same time, to me, only 10 should get on the Joe Weider final stage.
So how do you do the cutting? That's a lot. Like, I mean, doesn't that make
Simple.
the show longer?
No, it actually make it shorter in the interim. Like for instance, I'm not so sure I would have a press conference. I would take Thursday and have a cut round. So just because you get there doesn't mean you make it to the big dance, right? Just like in every other sport, you get there, you get to go on the stage, you get to compete, but maybe out of those, let's just take that number 70, okay? And let's take the number 10, which I just told you I would prefer to be on the finals stage, okay? Now, that's 60 people that are going to get cut at some point, right? So you whittle 70 down to whatever, 20. You whittle 20 down to 10. So maybe there's 3 cuts that come. So Thursday you get there, you got to make it to round 2, okay? And then you've got to get on that stage, and you're going to get down to the final round, and then that's going to get cut down to the top 10 on stage. Now, how does it get done? In a series of comparisons. It's real simple. So it's not that difficult to do.
So I guess you're not going to have each individual walk out and do their pose. No. That's
the only individuals that will ever pose to me is when you get down to we'll call it the semifinals and then the finals.
Okay.
That's it. So no, if you're one of the 70 that go, you're gonna get compared in group comparisons.
Okay.
And let's just say again, only out of that 60 people, let's just chop it in half. 30 are gonna go on to the next thing, and another 30 are gonna get cut in the next round. Mm-hmm. And then you're gonna get your top 10 that go across the Joe Weider final stage that we know as the finals. That's it.
What was your, of all the Olympias you've done, what year was it that you're on the stage of all the former Mr. Olympias? What year was that?
Oh boy, I think that was
it was the year after Joe Weider died?
I believe that was the 50th anniversary that we did. That was supposed to be televised.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. And that was a whole nother animal for me because,
what happened?
A television production is a whole lot different than a regular production. So things were tailored, they were timed, ultimately it didn't end up going on TV, which kind of, was that was kind of a real bummer for me because I worked really hard. Like for the first time, I had to walk out there in the middle of the stage with no paperwork or anything. I'm just on my own, and it's like, oh, okay. Well, even though I don't have a teleprompter or a script, I do have notes and stuff that I have, with normally at a podium. So, but there was things that went on there, and we had Arnold coming, and we had all these champs, and anybody from Lee Haney to I've been through a few rounds of those because years ago we had like Larry Scott. Unfortunately, some of these champs we've lost Larry Scott, we've lost Franco.
What's that feeling like for you when you're on that stage, and you see these guys? What's the rush? Give me that rush because I'm such a fan of bodybuilding myself. That's got to be so cool.
It's still cool, right? Because, listen, a lot of these guys I've met over the years, obviously, in my travels with the Olympia, but it was cool to see Larry Scott and meet him. This was the first Mr. Olympia. This guy was winning Olympias when I was born.
Yeah.
All right. And then you got, Sergio when he was around. We've lost Sergio since, right? And Arnold, obviously, I've known Arnold for many years. I do his show. But he's still Arnold, right? It's still cool. But I don't care if it's Jay Cutler, if it's Ronnie Coleman, any of the modern guys, Samir Bannout. Again, Franco before we lost him. But this is why I emphasize to these guys, I would be taking advantage of all these Olympians while they're still here and still ready, willing, and able to come out and support and be a part of history. Because once they're gone, they're gone. That's it.
I'd say what I'd like to see when I'm looking, like you, when you're looking down at the front row, I want to see those top guys down there, and be like, oh my God, there's Samir Bannout, or there's, Tom Platz, or, whoever.
I've always thought they should be given the red carpet treatment. And I don't care whether that's at the show, they should be in the front row. I know we got tickets to sell and all that, but you know what? They're part of history. They're part of bodybuilding royalty. They should be at the gala. And again, at a table up in the front where people have access to them. And again, at the expo, again, the Frank Zane. And again, they don't have to be all Mr. Olympias. Listen, there's plenty that never won the Olympia. Like the Danny Padillas and whoever else, the Robbie Robbins. I mean, you could pick a whole bunch of names that are, again, not getting any younger, who could be there and should be there. And
So-
part of what's going on.
We have 16 Mr. Olympias. This is the 58th year of the Olympia. Who
Right.
do you think is going to be the next Mr. Olympia?
Well, it's Rami's to win or lose, right? He's the champ. He's the incumbent. They're
Who's
going to
your
have
top
to beat him.
6? What's your top 6?
Well, this is where it gets interesting, right? Because you've had a top 6 traditionally over the last couple of years. You could pretty much rubber stamp it, right? And then last year you got 2 new guys in there in the form of Hunter Labrada and Nick Walker. And all of a sudden they kind of made their mark, and you're like, oh, we got a couple of new boys here, right? Now you've got a few more new names to add to this list this year that I think can contend for those 2 titles. So let's start at the top. Big Rami. His show to win or lose, right? He's the champ. You got to come and beat him. He's looking pretty good these days. I mean, we keep seeing videos. He keeps punching out, him and Chad. This guy ain't messing around, right? So you're not going to beat Big Rami at his own game. He's too big. That's why they call him Big Rami, right? So you do have some big boys that can contend. You've got Andrew Jacked, right? Which nobody knows his real name, although I do. But
I know what his real name is. I just can't pronounce it.
yeah, it's hard to pronounce. But listen, you got the what I call the Nigerian night train that's running through
Oh
this
my
Olympia.
gosh, isn't that
You've got
crazy?
Andrew Jacked, you've got Samson Dauda, and you've got
Blessing.
the Boogeyman. You got the Boogeyman, right? So you've got 3 guys that are big boys. Like, they're all 6 foot plus. Andrew being the biggest of them. They can actually stand with Big Rami, and they're not going to outmass him because none of those guys are as massive as Rami, but they're huge. Samson, to me, has the best physique, purely physique, out of all of them. So
Wait a minute, where's Derek Lunsford in the mix in this?
well, hang on. Now we haven't gotten to the short guys, right?
Okay.
So those guys right there, that's 3 new names into the mix that can all contend and stand next to Rami. Okay, if they're all in shape, they all help each other. So this isn't a team sport, but it kind of is when you consider it's all about apples and oranges, right? If those 3 guys come in there, and I'm going to add Crizzo. Now, Crizzo is absolutely not Nigerian, okay? Let's just get that out of the way, all right? But he's a 6-footer, and he's got some big parts, right? His arms are going to be as big as good as anybody's, right? He can stand next to those guys, so let's throw him in there. If those guys are all in shape, they can all help each other out with comparison, okay? Apples and apples. But now you got the oranges, right? You got Brandon Curry, who's the only other former Olympian that's going to be on that stage. Got to give him his credit and his just due. You've got William Bonac, the conqueror. Well, he's conquered a whole bunch of people in his day. He brings consistency, and he brings as much muscle on his frame than anybody. You got Hadi Chupan. All right, you can't forget him. His name kind of gets lost in there. This guy was 3rd place. A lot of people had him winning. So you got those guys. Then you got Nick Walker, and you got Hunter Labrada. Okay, and then you got to throw Derek Lunsford in there as a new guy. How do they help each other out? If all those guys are in shape and in condition, and their conditioning is better than the big guys, they all help each other because they all merit consideration and comparison. So what you're going to get, in my opinion, is 2 different camps that come out of this Olympia. You got the big boys and you got the shorter dudes, right? Can't call them the small guys because they're huge too, right?
Where does Ian Valliere fit in this?
He does.
Why? Because I've seen recent pictures of him, and he looks really improved, thicker, you know.
He is, but unfortunately, all those names I just mentioned, he ain't beating any of them. Okay? Because they've either got prettier physiques or they're put together a little bit better. Now, that's not to take away from Ian, because I like Ian very much. But as a bodybuilder at this level, he's going to be in with the second crew. Okay? And that's going to be guys like him. And this is how tough this Olympia is. We're talking about these guys as a, quote, second crew. Akeem Williams, Ian Valliere.
Bonac, you haven't mentioned.
Who?
Bonac.
I mentioned Bonac. You missed it. Yeah, you're not paying attention. Who else? Hang on a second. Rafael Brandau. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got some.
Well, that guy, he's looking pretty dicey. You know.
Well, Listen, not everybody can be. We can't have 8 guys in the top 5, right? So 3 of those guys that I mentioned are not going to be in the top 5. Let's
Right.
just go top 6, right? There's 3 or 4 of those guys I just mentioned that absolutely cannot be there. They can't occupy the same space. That means they're in the second crew. That means a Ian Valliere, who's an excellent bodybuilder, is going to have to beat an Akeem Williams, a Michael Crizzo, even though he's a new guy, he's going to hold his own, right? Let's just say Samson doesn't nail it, right? Well, he's still damn good. I mean, he's still going to be up there, and he's got to get put in a space, right? Or let's say Brandon Curry falls, or William Bonac. Bonac was 6. So it's not like he's infallible. I mean, he's got the tools to do it. But some of those guys are going to be in that next call-out crew, and they're going to have to earn their way. James Hollingshead, right? Yeah. I mean, these are names that we haven't even gotten
now,
to.
Obviously, we've not seen like an Andrew Jack or Crizzo next to these guys. We have seen a Derek Lunsford though up against a Hunter and Nick, which obviously that went very well. So my question to you is, even though, and I love Andrew Jack, which this guy and Blessing has, of course, my 2 dark horses is Derek Lunsford, number 1, and then Samson. I see Derek, if he's on the game, if he's on the money, which I know he will be, it's game over, in my opinion. Now, with you, I'm just going to ask, is it all about the size thing? Is it the tallest guy or the bigger muscle that wins? Or what if these guys are off? What if they come in soft?
Well, number 1, there's a reason you play the game, right? Like we're doing hypotheticals, we're doing matchups and all that. You got to play the game, right? If any one of those names I just brought up, including Big Ramy, is off, all right, then then the whole thing gets kind of readjusted, right? Because you got to be in shape first. And Big Steve, he's going to run these guys through the ringer. All right, there'll be no stone left unturned and a whole bunch of no elbows, guys. Let's go, coming from Big Steve, okay? If you're not in shape, you're out automatically.
What about holding the poses? What about holding the poses? Like holding the poses, like what we saw of Ramy, where he was just.
Listen, Ramy won his Olympia on posing. I've said this for 2 years now, right? He always had that first Olympia win to Dennis James, because Dennis James beat him to a pulp out in that Arizona heat, hitting poses over and over and over. Because honestly, Ramy might have had another Olympia victory, but he wasn't in shape. And when I say in shape, I'm talking about posing condition, right? His hands were on his knees. He was the first guy in and the first guy out of poses. And he, again, not to take away from a Brandon Curry, because Brandon absolutely deserved that title. But Brandon sat there with a double biceps with a smile on his face, looking handsome out there. And these guys were sucking wind.
Yeah.
So Ramy got smart. Dennis was even smarter and says, this is where you're going to win. Ramy won that Olympia because he was the first guy into a pose and the last guy out of it. And again, he looked pleasant doing it. He wasn't making faces and sweats pouring and all that kind of stuff. This comes into play. If any of these guys ain't doing their homework, you could punch your ticket right out of the top 6 just as easily.
Do you remember last year when everybody was going crazy when Hadi didn't win? They were wanting Hadi, and there was a whole chanting and stuff.
Yeah,
so
listen, Hadi's he's very formidable, but it's the Olympia is a combination, right? We're looking at the best physique.
Sure.
But it's hard when somebody's got 30 or 40 pounds of muscle on you to not put them in first. It's, we talk about this all the time, right? It's like when you go to the national championships and they bring out all the class winners and you go, man, I can't wait to see this middleweight guy, man. He might have a chance at the overall. And then they bring the crew out and your sign of sight, your line of sight, there you go, automatically goes to the right side of the stage, right? When the heavyweight and the superweight come out. And the middleweight all of a sudden looks like a little kid. And you go, oh, well, wait a minute. Okay. It's the same at the Olympia level. When Big Ramy's out there at almost 300 pounds in shape, that's it's still at the end of the day, it's a bodybuilding contest, right? We're looking for the best physique up there. This is where me and Milos always had fun with our little arguments about the posing round and stuff. I'm not looking for the best poser. I'm not looking at who can dance the best. I'm not looking at even who's the most classical. I'm looking for the best bodybuilder. That's all I'm looking for in the sport, in the world of bodybuilding.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. So in saying that, your answer to the Mr. Olympia who you think is going to get it is who?
Well,
who's your dark horse? Let's ask you that. Who's your dark horse?
My dark horse pick, I don't know if we actually call him, but I'll go with that. Derek Lunsford would be my dark horse.
Yeah.
And I say that for one good. Now, I picked Samson Dauda, as my dark horse pick to basically upset the apple cart, because that's not a name that's immediately on everybody's list of the
Right.
top 6 guys. But if he's in shape, he's got, again, a superior physique. He's very well put together, very symmetrical, not missing nothing. He doesn't really have any weak points. His only weak point traditionally has been conditioning. If he nails his conditioning, he's my dark horse to upset the apple cart. Somebody else is going home out of the top 6.
Pizza and beer?
Dark horse pick to actually win the show, Derek Lunsford. And I'll tell you why. Go ahead, ask me why.
Why?
Thanks for asking. Because, as you'll remember, and again, I always back up my stuff, right? I told you last year after the show, Derek Lunsford had the best back in the show. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And then I clarified and I said the entire show.
Right.
That means Big Ramy, Chris Bumstead. I don't care. Go pick somebody, right? He had the best back of anybody in the entire show. Now let's just stick with the bodybuilding category, 212 and men's open, right?
Of course.
If bodybuilding shows are won from the back,
right?
I don't know. That kind of gives him a little bit of an edge, right? I mean,
of course.
If Derek Lunsford now with 20 pounds of added muscle, or just muscle he didn't have to lose to get into the 212, right, comes out smoking, and his conditioning is on point, he's going to be a formidable opponent to anybody. I don't care who it is.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that said, it's Ramy's show to win or lose.
Right.
Right? You've got to give him consideration because he is the 2-time and current champ. That means you got to beat the champ. Do you have to knock the champ out? No. You got to beat him by 1 point.
So do you think there's going to be some upsets, meaning with people who are normally in our top 5 who are going to be placing low?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Oh, yeah. And let me tell you, the people on the bubble, in my opinion, are William Bonac, by virtue of his 6th place finish. So we have seen where there are some chinks in the armor.
Now, everybody just saw him guest posing and was very impressed with him, saying that he could be a threat.
Listen, he can be a threat, but he can also be in 6th place, right?
Sure.
He's proven it.
Okay.
Nick Walker and Hunter Labrada. Now, why do I pick those guys? Well, listen, Hunter is very complete, but he's also not one of the bigger guys in terms of height and stature. I see he might get swallowed up by the big boys.
Okay.
He might not. Again, the big boys got to be in shape, or that whole thing goes out the window. And I picked Nick Walker because Nick, although he's going to be in great conditioning and such, does not have the prettiest physique. Nick is very much like a modern-day Branch Warren. He's got to be dead on the money. If he's off even a little bit, he's out. Okay? He can bring the pain, but again, he doesn't have the most aesthetic physique out there, and some of these other guys do. Okay? Derek Lunsford is put together much better than Nick Walker. Let's just get that out of the way. Not to take away from these guys in any respect, okay? Again, we're talking, analytical stuff here, okay? So, guys, don't.
I'm going to
be
take it a
counting,
step even
why
further.
Don't you like me?
Listen, I'm going to take it a step further. I think that Derek Lunsford has a really good front double bicep shot. His waistline, his stomach is flat. I mean, that kid's vacuum. I mean, listen, front and back, I think he's got that winning package. And working with Hani, we saw what Hani's done with Phil Heath and a bunch of these other people. So,
well, let me spell this out for those bodybuilding fans that are out there who want to argue the point. Okay, Derek Lunsford is not small. Okay, so let's just clarify this. Okay, Sean Clarita, the Giant Killer, although he did qualify for both, obviously he'll be looking to get his 212 championship back. Smart play. He's small. Okay, he's not a big person. He's 177 pounds on stage. All right, even in the class. Now he's very good. Obviously, that's why he's won an Olympia title, and he's probably the the odds-on favorite to win the title back. Derek Lunsford is no shorter than William Bonac, Nick Walker. I think he might be a shade shorter than Brandon Curry.
So okay? Derek is a little bit below 5'7", but I'm going to give him the 5'7".
All those guys are the same height. All those the quote short guys that I mentioned, they're all the same height. They're within an inch of each other. So he's not giving up nothing when he's out there. He's actually going to compare very favorably, and I think he's actually a little bit taller. So he's about to, maybe he's a share shorter than Hunter Labrada. Mm-hmm. Okay, they're all about the same. And then you get to Big Ramy again, and William. That's why I split it into 2 camps. because you've got two distinct different types of physiques coming out there. You got the tall guys, the big boys, and then you've got the shorter guys. And Hadi Chupan, again, same height as Derek, maybe a little shorter even. So Derek's going to compare very favorable. He's not a 212 guy going up against these guys. He's going to fit right in there, and he's going to have a real good shot of being in that top three.
And let me tell you, this kid still has a lot more room for growing because Derek just sucks it up real good. So let's go into the 212. So now Derek out of the picture in the 212, you have the top dogs, which are going to be Kamal and obviously Sean Corrida. Now, where does Keon fit into this mix?
Keon is right in that mix. A definite top 5 guy, could be a winner. I mean, listen, he's got a beautiful physique. For those who know the history of the sport, he looks like a smaller version of Edgar Fletcher from years ago. Beautiful small waist. He might have the best proportions out of both those guys. Conditioning is going to be his key. He's got to match the conditioning of Sean Clarita and Kamal, which is not easy because these guys, they're not exactly put together. Again, you got 2 Olympians now that he's got to go against and he's got to beat.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
Not an easy task, but he fits right in there. The other guy that fits right in there isn't even in the division, and that's Breon Ansley.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've gone on record saying I think this is an opportunity lost to Breon. Breon is an excellent bodybuilder. He could easily go in without Derek in there. To me, I'd have been pushing his ass into that 212 going, hey, man, go after history, kid. You can win the Olympia title, or at least have a good chance of it, in a whole different division. Never been done before.
Let me ask
Never
you
been
this.
done.
So let's say this, right? So Breon would, now you know all the history. You're a very good historian. If Breon wanted to do 212, he would had to compete in the 212 and qualify, right? Just because he's a Olympian, Mr. Classic Physique Olympian, doesn't mean he could just jump into the 212.
Correct. I don't think there's any question. Listen, Derek Lunsford got an invite, okay? Now, I personally wasn't on board with that because I think he should have qualified somewhere, okay? But I get it. Listen, I'm not complaining about it, right? I mean, this guy's going to present himself and he's going to be a force. But that said, okay, if you can't make a justification for a 2-time Olympian, okay, and classic is bodybuilding. Listen, it's all the same. Classic is bodybuilding.
Right.
So it's not like it's board shorts going into bodybuilding, right? That you're not like Brandon Hendrickson. If tomorrow he said, hey, I want to put in for a special invite to go in the 212, I'm going to go qualify. You've never even been on a bodybuilding stage.
Yeah,
you
I
had
get
board
that.
shorts on. With all due respect, that's what, that's a different division, okay? Classic, while it's a different division, it's still bodybuilding. They just wear different shorts, okay? I mean, it's all bodybuilding, right? But I mean, you get what I'm saying, right? If Breon Ansley wanted to get a special invite, I would have absolutely no issue with that, and I don't think the powers that be would either.
Why do you think he doesn't want to go into the 212?
I think because, listen, you're talking about a 2-time Olympian in Classic. So this guy wasn't like just a contender.
Right.
He was the best in the world twice over. So he the competitive nature of him says, I want to get my title back. Okay. Where I think he's missing the boat is not only could he be chasing history because he does have the tools and the talent to contend for the 212 title. Like he's that good, right? If you can win the Olympian Classic, you are absolutely a contender in the 212. Now you're talking about a guy who now doesn't have to make a weight class other than 212, right? He can be 10 pounds up, and that would be pretty damn good, right? Going against Clarita and Elgarni. And he's also chasing history. Nobody in the history of bodybuilding has ever won 2 Olympia titles in 2 different divisions.
So let's go.
Very hard to do.
Oh, yeah. So this is why I'm excited for Derek, because with Derek, I think he can definitely pull it off and win that Mr. Olympia title. And he will be one of the youngest Mr. Olympias if he does that, because most of our Olympias now have been over 30. And Derek is 29.
Yeah.
So, but let's go into Classic. One of your favorites, the Dinosaur, You know who I'm talking.
Yeah, listen, to all my Brazilian brethren, stop sending me dinosaur emojis, okay? I get it. Listen, I like Ramon. He's a great bodybuilder. And let me tell you, he's going to be contending. You got Chris Bumstead, who now has a different camp, right? He's got Hani. Hani is his coach now, right? So he's had a change.
Well, listen, you got Urs, who has your best friend, from the Night of Champions, Marcus, working with him, and he's made incredible improvements.
Listen, he's not getting any tips of getting pretty from Marcus Rule. Okay, let's just get that out of the way right now. Okay, listen, 2002 Night of the Champions, me and Marcus, Beauty and the Beast. Everybody knows who was who. Okay, probably still should have won that one, but that's okay. Enjoy your victory, Marcus. That's cool. All right. Listen, Marcus knows his stuff. Okay, Urs is a great talent. He's a young kid. He looks like a younger Bumstead, honestly.
Yes.
Very similar physiques. Mm-hmm. He compares very well with Bumstead. Bumstead's obviously the 3-time champ now?
Right.
Right? It's his to win or lose, obviously. But you got Ramon, who, again, they call him Dino, whatever his name, right? The Brazilians absolutely love him. This kid's put together, man.
Yeah.
If he's managed to bring his back up, okay, kind of like what Bumstead had to do. Bumstead's back has increased. Even though he was the champ already, he really made some improvements over the 3 years he's had the title. Ramon could contend for this title.
No.
And I'll give you somebody else who you cannot look past because
Terrence.
He may be better overall than all of them, is Terrence Ruffin.
Yeah.
Hey, Rough Diesel himself, right? No, first of all, best poser out there. I know it's not a posing contest, okay, but you can't help but marvel at this kid out there because he brings the house down. I mean, that is traditional bodybuilding at its best. You want to see how to pose? This guy give a tutorial on it at every show. Mm-hmm. So that's gonna be your top guys. Those 4 guys are going to contend, and there's other new talent coming in, but I see those 4 guys. If Bumstead's on again, he's going to be very hard to beat again. But don't take for a minute that it can't change because we've seen regime changes when, again, you got some younger talent coming in there. And Bumstead, he's had some health issues over the years that he's had to contend with, that he's gotten past, and he's got himself in the winner's circle. But don't count out an Urs. If Urs brings the arms up and Ramon brings the back up, it's a whole different animal in terms of comparisons.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of Urs, and he's definitely improved a lot. And he's, the people love him. So let me ask you something. In all your years at the Olympia, which one was the most like, oh crap, I can't believe this is happening, moment? Did you have excuse my language, an oh shit moment at the Olympia?
Oh, I've had a whole lot of oh shit
moments.
What's
the best one?
Luckily, nobody has really seen most of them because I was able to cover. But the one that sticks out the most in my mind was, I don't remember exactly what year, but it was when AMI was still there and David Pecker and Ben was still alive. So that'll give us a clue as to what year this was. But so in the old days, right, which they are now, Ben would go out there and he would make a speech. And then this is all the beginning of the show. And then David Pecker would go out and he would make his speech. And then I would come out and kind of start the show. So now I'll tell you what, we can almost tell it a year because it was me and Sean Ray on stage. So I'm talking like 05 or no, 06, 07, somewhere in that range. So long story real short, both guys came out. Ben did his thing. Pecker did his thing. I get introduced. I'm going to bring out Sean. It's my co-host, right? And as I come out to the podium, all my paperwork's gone. I mean, everything. Right?
Yeah, but you think that's kind of easy, like for you, because you're the guy. But you mean like
all that stuff's laid out in advance, right? So I don't have to walk out there with a stack of papers, right?
So wait a minute, real quick, Bob. Say that again because your audio tuned out. I couldn't hear you.
All right. So I don't have a teleprompter or anything, but I do have, I got the show running and notes, of course, that I've written down and a list of all the competitors, right? So, without that, I don't know who's coming. There's 400 competitors, whatever it is, right? All that stuff is laid out on the podium. He announces me. I come out, hey, everybody, welcome to the Olympia. Great to be back. And I look down, and I got nothing.
So what goes through your mind at that point?
I'm shitting my pants, right? Because I could feel the sweat going down the small of my back. because I'm like, oh my God, like, where's my paper? Right? So I introduce Sean. He comes out. Okay. And I figure to myself, now I got to get a hold of Steve Stone, God bless him, because we lost him at the Olympia some years ago. That's probably one of your other questions. But, and I'm trying to get Steve. Now, listen, I'm talking live to the Olympia, right? There's 10,000 people in an auditorium and on camera, right? So I get Sean. Thank God I actually had Sean next to me at that point, right? I pitched something to Sean, and Sean's got the gift of gab, so I figured, great, he'll talk, right? Hey, Sean, great to have you back. Hey, you're back on an Olympia stage. How's it feel, right? Hey, Bob, so he starts talking. As he's talking, if anybody has the tape of this, you could probably see it. You will see it. I'm kind of go behind Sean. I'm trying to get Steve Stone's attention, right? Yeah, he's the head expediter. And I'm trying to tell him, like, where's my paperwork? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm going, now this is Saturday night, the finals. I go, bro, all my papers are gone. And he's like, oh my, where is them? I don't know. Either Ben grabbed them or Pecker, right? Like somebody grabbed this stuff. So we got to do something here, right? So he takes off to go find my paperwork, right? Just about then, Sean, so anyways, Bob, so it's been great. All right. So now Sean has no idea this is going on, right? Because I introduced him. He came out after me. And I pitched something else to him. Well, Sean, we've had a great, history of the Olympia back in 1965. I got to buy some time here. I got nothing. And he starts drowning out with something else, right? So here comes Steve. I'm like, oh, thank God, right? And he shows me a bunch of papers. And I grab the papers and I look at them. It's from Friday night.
Oh, no.
The Friday night papers. I'm like, no. No, again, this is all, So anyway, Sean, and I keep dipping behind Sean going, Steve, I need the Saturday paper. This is Friday. I need Saturday. Oh, shit, hang on. He goes back. Well, Pecker, right? He comes out there with this one little sheet of paper, right? I mean, that he's, and he plunks it on the thing and he gets his feet. And when he goes, I've got 100 sheets there. Why he grabs my shit, I don't know, right? So just as we're about to run out of stuff, and I'm going to have to basically fess up to the 10,000 people in attendance, what's going on, right? Here comes Steve. It was like a grabbing the baton in a race, right? Where they, the guy's going to reach out to you, just as Sean's wrapping up, here comes Steve with the paper. I grabbed the papers from behind him and, all right, folks, so we've got a great show set for you here today. And that was, thank God, all the papers were there. But, I mean, listen, you talk about a deer in the headlights. Like, I literally would have had to have stopped the show because I don't know I don't have the list of, of 42 bikini chicks coming out. Like, I have no idea.
I thought you were Bob Stradamus. Wait a minute. Don't you know this stuff?
Yeah, I should, but yeah.
Well, listen, anyway. I got to say this about you, man. To me, everybody calls me the fit rock star or whatever, but really, you are the rock star of bodybuilding. I don't know how many people at shows, regular people, even when not at shows, I mean, the athletes, they all love you. I mean, there's some people who really love you, quote unquote. But, they appreciate what you do because the one thing that's the takeaway is how you make these athletes feel. Every Olympia, any show that you're at, you always go above and beyond for the athletes. And in saying that, last year's Olympia was off the charts. I got to give you shit though, okay? Your photo skills suck, all right? Because the selfie of, even though it got like 10,000 likes or whatever, 20,000 likes of you, the blurry, the guys and stuff, you really made it a very fun Olympia for everybody.
Well, listen, I mean, the fact I got anything, that wasn't scripted. There was nothing scripted there. So I was literally on my own to kind of make something up at the time. And, I thought to myself, you know what, you're always giving me shit about my lack of social media skills and such. So, you know what, I'll get a selfies. So all that stuff was made up on the spot.
Well, the tie thing was the best one. It's a tie.
Well, we had a tie, that was, found on the floor at the expo, come and get it at the Lost and Found. Listen, I try to make it entertaining. We try to have some fun with it, not take it, listen, this is very serious for the people. They're going for the title of best in the world. So I just do the best I can to A, feature the athletes and B, do the Olympia proud. And like I say, still the best seat in the house. Still beats a real job.
Right. And also you're an athlete you were an athlete as well. And so you can look at it from both sides. But you really do have a huge passion for the sport. That is without a doubt. You can clearly see that. And I'm just going to say this. I know you're going to kill me. You're going to be 57 years old. Now, you don't look anywhere near 57 at all. You look more like 30. So, anyway, you still stay in good shape. I mean, a lot of guys around your age, I mean, they look like my grandpa pretty much. So, I mean, keep on doing what you're doing. Obviously, are we going to see a new suit this year at the Olympia with you? Because you always have these badass suits.
I'm working on that now. Unfortunately, we moved last year, and I lost my tailor. He's back in Peachtree City. So, I'm working on some stuff now. We'll see what I can come up with. But I'll look dapper.
You always look dapper. How about the shoes? You're going to do those rainbow shoes again? You're going to do something different?
I got to come up with something else.
The rainbow shoes were the biggest. Were the biggest hits.
I can't disappoint the fashion police out there in the bodybuilding community. So yes, I will come up with some funky new shoes for everybody, and a good time will be had by all.
So, excuse me, I'm so like fangirling over here, losing my voice. Do you ever think when you're on stage looking at these guys, I can whip this guy's ass and this guy's ass, and because you were a very good competitor when you were competing. You have one.
Sure.
I mean, to me, you're like you were the modern day Bob Paris. So I always wonder, does that cross your mind when you look at some of these guys?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm closer than the judges. So, I mean, I see their conditioning. I see the shape these guys are in or not in. I mean, listen, I'm still a big fan myself. So, I mean, I'm right up there. And I can assess these physiques, too. I mean,
that's not what I asked you. I asked you, do you look at these guys and do you think about your time when you competed? Can I whip these guys' asses?
Oh, can I whip? Not really. I mean,
No?
I mean, listen, these guys are at the Olympia. Even the worst guy at the Olympia.
I mean, just in general, not the Olympia, any of these shows.
Well, they're not. Listen, most of them ain't going to be prettier than I am, but that's cool. I mean, no, not really. I mean, I don't really get into that. I mean, I'm kind of so far past that now there are some people that do qualify that I think to myself, how did this guy qualify?
Right.
But listen. Shows are shows, winners are winners, and if you got there, you got there. I mean, bottom line is if you earned your ticket there, you got to give props.
Are we going to see you at the Masters Olympia making a comeback?
Yeah, come back to the microphone maybe. Yeah, I mean, if they ask, but no. Listen, the only thing tougher than hanging up your trunks is fitting back into them. Let's face it. There's, bodybuilding is not fine wine. I hate seeing people coming back that just are a shadow of their former selves. It's like, look at, man, you're not going to recapture the old days. It ain't going to happen. I'm not, even though I won the Masters World Championship, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Masters competitions in general. I think it's good at a local level, at the pro level. I don't know, man. It's just not what I'm into.
Well, fair enough. I think we're going to be seeing you doing the Olympia for a very long time. You're the best at it. I mean, you got the voice, obviously, and there's nobody like you. So I'm going to ask you one last question. I'm going to leave it with you. But my question to you is, what advice would you give your younger self?
In terms of bodybuilding?
Just in general.
Yeah, what advice would I give my younger self? That's a good one. I'd say enjoy it more. You know what I mean? Like take the time to smell the roses, so to say. And because time, the one thing you do learn is, now I'm 57. I mean, I remember when I was 47, like it was yesterday. I remember when I was 37, like it was 2 weeks ago. Time flies. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Sometimes take a moment. It's easy to get caught up with the business and the money and this and that, but enjoy the friendships, the associations, the business, relationships and things like that, and most importantly, the memories. Because at the end of the day, that's all we got. And, we're all in the same community. We're all in the same boat. So, don't get so caught up with the business aspect of it and enjoy it as a fan and a fan of the sport. That's what I would probably say.
Okay. All right, Mr. Cicherillo. So how do we find you? You have your Voice of Bodybuilding podcast, I know, on YouTube. Your Instagram, any swagwear you sell, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm always involved in all kinds. I've got equipment companies I'm going to be doing some business with. So, yeah, keep an eye, folks. Always appreciate the support and the follows and all that stuff. So, yeah, catch me on Instagram, IFBB Pro Bob Chick. My Voice of Bodybuilding podcast, we're going to be kind of ramping that up a little bit. People seem to like it, so I'm going to be doing more of it. And we'll see everybody at the Olympia, man. History will be made. at the Mr. Olympia.
Hey, there we go. Well, thank you, Mr. Bob Chick. We really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure and a huge honor. Of course, me being a big fan. So thank you, and we'll see you at the Olympia.
You got it. We'll see you.
Okay, bye.